we up and running?
Where is it?
They're in Virginia.
Virginia.
Yeah?
We'll get back.
We're good?
Yeah.
Oh, we're recording? Okay, cool. All right, everybody. At this time, I will call this workshop to order. Val, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Penny?
Here.
Commissioner Curry?
Here.
Commissioner Danio?
Here.
Commissioner Johnson?
Here?
Mayor Villa?
Here. And at this time, I'll ask everybody to stand for a short invocation and pledge of allegiance. Dear Heavenly Father, we come to you today, dear Lord, with grateful hearts. Dear God, we ask you to bless this meeting and time together. Dear God, we ask you to bless this nation and allow us to come together, dear Lord, and move on and become better. We trust in you, and in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, at this time, what I'd like to do is go ahead and take the ERP first instead of the CRA because it may take more time. So I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Forte.
Actually, we're going to turn right over to Stella, and she'll introduce our representative from Tyler Encode.
All right. Thank you. Stella, take it away.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners. Thank you for taking the time this evening to discuss the city's ERP, or Enterprise Resource Planning System. You can go to the next slide, or do I have a clicker here? Oh, you did already. Okay, thank you. This is just the definition of an ERP system. It's the main system that we use for most of the business processes of the city. And since I've been here, the city manager would probably use a different word, but I've been encouraging him to look at a different solution for the city's ERP system. You can go on to the next one. This is kind of my attempt at looking at what the city has now. And just so you know, I am experienced with this system. I used it for about 12 years at another city, but I've also used various other systems that, in my opinion, were much better than the current system the city has. The core system in the middle is the Central Square HTE system. And then you'll see on the outside, we also have all these third-party systems that, unfortunately, some of them, you see the three little men there, don't automatically or electronically interface with the core system. So there is redundant manual entry for all three of those external systems. And that's not good. You want to try to make things as efficient as you can and productive as you can. And even within the core system, the way I explain it is I was surprised when I came here because I heard that they were on the latest version of the Central Square system. And what it reminds me of is the old green screen that you used to hear about. They've taken that technology and tried to make it look like your iPhone. But the back end of it doesn't work very well to do that. And so it's very difficult system to use. A simple example, you go take a payment over the cashier's office right now, it does not immediately update the person's account. It has to do an overnight processing, and everybody has to be off the system for the processing to even occur. So it's not anywhere close to real-time update, and it's very inefficient. Go ahead, Valerie. So what you want in an ERP system is one that's going to improve your efficiencies. You, of course, would like cost savings, mobility, flexibility, and another big thing with the Central Square system is the customer service has degraded drastically since the time that I used it previously with another city. It is very difficult to get help, to get things fixed. In fact, the city manager has had to get involved way more than he should have to try to get some of the problems rectified. We got a notification just today, after we've already done our calendar year end and processed the payroll, that, oops, there was a bug in the year end update that we did, and now we got to do another fix to it. So, and these kind of things are happening all the time. So I, again, encouraged the city manager for us to look at Tyler Encode, which is a sister product to Tyler Munis. I don't know if you've ever heard of that system. I think Kurt actually had it on track to try to bring Tyler Munis here, which is a Cadillac, and they have a sister product that's more of a Impala. I drive an Impala. That is for smaller cities. So we are eligible for this product rather than going for the full-blown Cadillac. You can go ahead to the next one.
If at some point we want to upgrade because there's certain systems, is there an easy process to do that, or is that a question more for him? Okay, I can ask that later.
Yeah, he can address more the transition.
Okay,
But yeah, we'll get there.
thank you.
So this is just a comparison of the current system that we have and the third-party vendors associated with it for a 5-year process. And the offer that Tyler Encode has made us, the current system that we have, the annual maintenance costs are over $100,000, and they're going up 5% per year. And it was written into the contract that way, that it's going to go up 5% per year. So the offer that Tyler has come up with, and I think you'll see. Oh, and I should have mentioned that all of the department heads. We did a demo that lasted all day with all of the department heads. Gave them people to contact in their peer groups so they could find out how this system works, whether it would meet the needs. There are a lot of needs right now that are not being met by the system we have. One area is the community development area. Not most, but a lot of cities now have electronic applications for building permits and electronic scheduling, electronic plans review, and it would be a significant amount of money, and it still would not have the functionality that we were looking for to upgrade anything with our current system. The code enforcement system needed more options. The public works area, the maintenance system, and keeping track of all of their different lift stations and all their pieces of equipment and their fleet. They've got a third-party little standalone fleet module right now. So we gave the department heads a day-long overview. They had, opportunity to ask questions. We met with them a second time, and they all seemed to think that this system would start putting the city in the direction of being able to meet the future needs for the city. So this comparison is the 5 years with our current system And then the upgrade costs to the Encode system would be $158,000, just over, one-time cost, and then a significant savings in the annual maintenance. So the return on investment would be about 28% over that 5-year period.
Stella? Mr. Mayor. So under the Tyler Technologies, you've got the upgrade cost and the annual maintenance. That's 1 year, correct? So under the 5-year experience, that's just showing the 1 year plus the upgrade cost.
I'm sorry?
It's
Ask me
showing it
again?
as annual maintenance, 1 year, $629,800.
No, that's a
Is that-
5-year.
Is that what you're saying, Joe?
Well, I'm in the other column, so you're seeing the 158 plus the 334, that's the 493.
Correct,
For 5 years.
for 5 years. The 158 is a one-time cost.
Right.
The 334 is the 5-year cost.
Oh, that's for 5-year. Okay, that's why, all right, so then it goes back to my other column, so that 629 is a 5-year, so if you divide it by 5, that's your annual cost.
Yes, and
Okay.
that's for all of Central Square and the third-party vendors.
Okay, I got you. So the point that I mentioned to you in our one-on-one briefings is at the end of the 5-year period, there'll be a 28% savings over what we're paying Central Square, $135,000 difference. And then that savings is going to continue on for quite some time.
Correct.
Commissioner Penny, you had a question?
Yeah, Stella, you mentioned the contract. Do you have any cancellation provisions or any
Yes.
penalties?
I believe it's a 90-day cancellation period.
And you mentioned all those other wonderful things like online. I'm assuming that's included in the Tyler Technologies package then.
Yes.
And then the last question might not be for you, but I see the savings over the 5-year expense. What's the life expectancy of the program, and will we have to upgrade it again at the end of the 5-year cycle?
I'm going to let Mike address that because I do know about their program. They have something called Evergreen that is different than most technology places, that doesn't force you into paying a bunch of upgrade costs every time they upgrade. But
Okay.
that's part of his presentation, so I'm going to let him address that more for you.
Thank you.
Okay? Any more so far?
Thank you.
Well,
Continue.
then I'm going to turn it over to Mike Lesher from Tyler Technology. He is our neighbor just to the north. He's in St. Augustine, so we can grab him anytime we need to. So come on up, Mike, and here's the slides if you want them.
Yeah, that's great.
Welcome to Holly Hill, Mike.
Thank you.
Your name is Mike Lesher, for the
That's
record?
correct, sir.
All right, thank you very much.
So I appreciate, Mr. Mayor, Chairman, Commissioners, I appreciate the opportunity to be here. Like Stella mentioned, I was down here for a whole day and did a pretty good presentation for the group. As always, made offers to follow-up demos and any questions that came in. We've given referrals to everybody, so they've had a good chance to talk to different people. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on these slides because you've all got them in front of you, but I'll mention just a few things about them. If you hadn't heard of Tyler Technologies, we're the largest company in the United States that focuses only and exclusively on the public sector, meaning, federal, state, counties, cities, towns, municipal authorities, water authorities, schools, things like that. That's all we do. Been around the company Tyler over 40 years, 7 divisions, 5 solution groups, but one of the biggest parts, I think, of that slide, not so much of the amount of customers we've got, but 40% of the people that are employed at our company, especially in the implementation group, the support group, and the things that will deal with the municipalities on a daily basis came from the public sector, have worked with the municipal government in some level. So I think not only do we understand the software, when we acquire companies and bring them into Tyler, we do it specifically for the technology that's going to help with where we're growing, but also the people we hire are from where you're at and what you do, so they understand what we're doing. Next slide. We're a public company. Very good stock. Again, I'm not going to go into each individual thing here, but you can Google Tyler Technologies, accolades or awards, and the internet, and you'll bring up a lot of information about us. I think the other thing that's not mentioned there, as far as procurement, there's a company called Sourcewell. If you've ever heard of Sourcewell for government purchasing, only I think 8 companies make the Sourcewell group on a yearly basis. We were awarded that again this year, meaning that our RFP process, our bidding process, our pricing process, and all those structures meet a high-level standard inside the government contracting organization in the country, and we've made that again this year. Stock's great stock to own. But like I said, once you Google that, you can come up with additional information there about the company. Next slide. Stella talked about Encode. Well, obviously Tyler's more than Encode. She called Encode the Cadillac, or excuse me, Munis the Cadillac. I call Munis maybe the Mercedes, and we're the Cadillac. I think we're very close. In fact, I think there's always a battle internally within our company, but anywhere from $50-60 million general fund on hire, you'll be talking Munis. That lower, you're talking to Encode. But that's not always the case. I mean, I've 2 deals last year. Groveland liked our product over the Munis side, and I've also been in the industry over 10 years with a competitor of Tyler's, but sold into my former company into Atlantic Beach. My product, they threw it out within 3 months or 4 months, saying that this isn't going to handle it. Not so much of the product itself. It did work, but just where they're going as a city, it didn't work. And they've also looked at Munis and Encode, and hopefully we'll be bringing Encode. But Neptune Beach is another one that was in a similar situation as yourselves. Were forced to upgrade last year, forced to pay a certain amount of money. They went out and looked, found us a solution that encompassed everything like Stella explained to you, trying to do here, to bring one company, one vendor to do everything, and they're going to end up saving a lot of money over the next 5 years too. But you can see some of the different things that we cover, basically touching everything within the Munis and Encode and Tyler side that generally you do inside of a city. So you won't have to deal with third-party vendors if that's your choice.
What about third-party credit card, paying online, utilities?
All that. Not only do we have that ability, but we've also created our own system. And if you understand what PCI compliance is for security, we've done that ourselves.
Good.
There's no other vendor that we compete with that inside our market that has done it themselves.
Yeah.
We rely on third parties.
It's very high standard.
Yeah, so we've done that too. The last slide I want to show you before we try to get Frank in here to show you some of the screens is what Stella pointed out is our Tyler Evergreen. And this goes to the question Mr. Penny asked. Well, basically, what you see there is from the beginning of Tyler Encode to where we're at there with 2019, the look and feel, and that's what you'll see live tonight. And you can see the different upgrades and the different dates we've done it. Now, as a company, we don't ever force you to go from one version to another, even though you probably aren't going to see anybody back on the 2002 or 1998 version. You will see some people still in the 2011 and 2015 version. So we don't force you to upgrade. We continue to support you on that product set if you choose to do so. But the upgrades are always out there. As long as you're under support, upgrades are free. You never have to purchase another upgrade ever. Now, if you decide to buy another piece of software, another module that doesn't have anything to do with what you're buying today, something else happens, and we acquire another technology you might want that we don't currently have, and you want to buy that module, obviously that's not free. It would be the same process, and we would provide the same discount, the same structured discount that we gave you for this deal for those modules too. But you would never pay for an upgrade again. On to your question, as far as some of those numbers you saw, the support also includes, you're going to be on the web. So it's web hosted. It's out on Amazon ECS2. I think it's the government encrypted server. So those part of that support charges you're seeing on that yearly basis as part of the 5 years includes all that. So there's no hidden fees, no upgrade charges, nothing in there. That's the total price. And you're guaranteed that price won't go up for the 5 years.
What should we expect at the end of 5 years?
Yeah, I think it's-
Well, generally what we try to do is in the second or third year, if the implementation went well, and generally this happens in most cases, things are going well and you like it, we give you an opportunity to sign additional contracts and extend that out. And generally there's no increases there too. But it's up to you. I mean, if we're not doing a good job,
Right.
there's always that option out. But again, one of the other things you saw in that is 98, almost close to 99% customer retention. We try not to lose people. And the way we have support and this evergreen policy that we've got, so you don't have to buy upgrades. I mean, I hope other vendors continue to do that, because that's how I tend to get good business every year, is when you're forced to go out and look because you're going to be spending money. You won't have to outside of that support cost. But I'm here local. I can answer any other additional questions that you might have either now or in the future.
Are there any further questions for Mike?
All right.
Any, Mr. Forte?
I do want to ask Stella, and we might have talked about this, and I just don't remember. How do we go about bidding this? Or is it a piggyback contract? I know there are other cities that are on this program.
Yes, actually, I think what you gave me was the Sourcewell. Was it the Sourcewell or the piggyback of Groveland?
Yeah, there's a couple
Groveland.
choices. You can use Sourcewell, and I think we looked on Sourcewell, and Holly Hill's a member of the Sourcewell, but you also have the ability, depending on your city ordinance, of piggybacking on an RFP, and we just won Groveland less than a few months ago. So I think I've already provided that
Yeah.
documentation,
Okay.
everything to you.
Either
You
way.
can use that.
Okay.
And there's also 2 or 3 others that you could use too, but I used Groveland because
Right.
it's the latest one we picked up.
Right, and price is comparable, it's all the same.
Actually,
Yes.
getting a better deal.
Good.
And he does have a little demo of the.
They don't have a favored nations clause?
Yeah, because he's just up the street.
Yeah.
Can you bring up that, yeah.
Do you want me to click on his, looks like he's muting, so do you want me to unmute him?
Yeah, unmute him. Well, I can do that too. Let's see. We'll get Frank on here real quick. All right, let me see on your computer here. I'll give him control first, and he'll try. Worst case, I do. That should understand where it's not allowed. Let me try mine. There we go.
Oh, there he is. It's free now.
All right, Frank, can you hear me, Frank? Frank, can you hear me?
Can you hear me? Yes, sir, loud and clear. I'm okay.
Try that one more time. Can you hear me?
Mike, are you able to hear me?
Yes. And you can hear him there? Can you all hear that?
Yep.
All right, so you can see the screen up there. I'll minimize this here. Frank Leston, one of our solutions.
Okay, now I can't.
You walked away from the mic, he can't hear you.
Yeah, I think the best thing for me to do is let you guys do that, and you mute here if you can, and I'll unmute him here and bring the speaker down. Hold on. Can you hear me now,
Can you
Frank?
hear me now, Frank? Yes, I can.
I'll try to step away so it's not dueling it. Frank Smith's been with the company
actually
about
about 8 or so years
and is
one of our top solutions consultants.
So you're on, Frank.
Frank. All right. Well, thank you, and everyone, thank you for your time. I'm just going to say hello real quick, and then I'll go ahead and turn off my camera because y'all want to see the software. So, in speaking with a few other people, I believe Monday, what we're going to do is just kind of give you a kind of a high level, showing you some of the key features of our Encode software. And what you're currently seeing on your screen, this is our dashboard. The dashboard is a user-defined place. It's pretty much your landing page when you log into Encode. So anything that would require your attention, maybe your approval, such as time off, if you're doing any kind of purchasing, if you're doing any kind of land management, permitting, code enforcement, anything that's going to require your approval or just something that you want to stay on top of is sent to your dashboard. I'm going to just essentially take you through just kind of like the day in the life, spend about 5 or 6 minutes on the dashboard, and then what I'd like to do is go through some of your what your customer would see if I need to log on and pay a utility bill. Maybe I'm a contractor and I actually want to log on to the city's website and take out a permit or a license. Can I do that today? I'm going to show you how your customers can pay bills and essentially access some of the services online. A lot of this functionality is also mobile. So if you have a cell phone probably within the last 6 or 7 years, you have you basically have all the technology you need to access our services. So as far as the dashboard, what you're seeing right here, it's composed of smart cards, smart charts. So we do realize sometimes you may not necessarily want everything in a spreadsheet. So why not populate it in a bar graph or a pie chart? This is all interactive data. I'm looking at my fiscal budget for 2021. If I wanted to go to a different department, I can easily click on that, refresh the information. I have most of my cards turned on for financials right now, but very easily if I needed to transition, maybe I'm a payroll administrator, perhaps HR. Maybe I operate in both worlds. I can go over to my dashboard here. I got a couple different windows open, and I can see that, hey, I may want to keep on top of things. I've got an open grievance against an employee. What is this surrounding? I can easily view that. Or do you ever have employees that maybe leave the city and they have a cell phone? They may have some equipment they have in return. Encode can keep track of that simply by clicking on these employees' names. And what did Chris leave? Well, he left with an access badge, a cell phone, and a laptop. Maybe he didn't leave the city. He just went to a different department, but you can keep on top of your employees. Or maybe you're working and, Chris comes up to you and says, hey, how much time do I have off for PTO? Now, we all know employees love two things. How much time do I have off and how much money did I make? So right from here, I can jump into Chris's record, and if need be, I can dive in and get some more information on that. But what we want to present is just ease of access. I had mentioned before your citizens. How do your citizens currently access information? Do you have Taco Truck Tuesdays or maybe movies in the park? What they can do is we have a program called, I'm going to just bring this up on give me 1 second here. It's great when all of this works. This is our My Civic. This is your outlet. The program is called My Civic. This is a Tyler program, but this is your customers, your citizens' outlet. What's going on at City Hall in the city of Holly Hill today? Well, we can jump right into City Hall. Who are the council? Were there any new people elected? If I'm visiting Holly Hill and I don't have a car, what does your public transportation services look like? A lot of this information can be pulled from your website now, but we can populate it in a one-shop stop app. And then from here, where do you want to go? Do I want to visit one of the parks? Do they have Taco Tuesday for the food trucks? What's going on? You can publish this information right to this application. So if someone's visiting the city, they can jump in or pick out a specific park. I can get directions to that park. Or maybe I just want to see, I have a daughter and a son, and I want to see which one offers something a little bit more geared towards them. So what we want to do is give you options. More importantly, have it all in one location. Sure, you can have, an app for this, one for business, or, while I'm there, maybe I see some graffiti. This is just telling us we need to sign in. But maybe I see some graffiti and I need to report that, or an abandoned vehicle, or whatever, any concerns that you may have, or just some general feedback. You can see I have built this out, but this is going to be built around your city as far as what concerns you. Is there any specific news going on?
Hold on a second, Frank. Do you have a question?
Yeah, I had a question. When it comes to populating all that data, does our staff populate it into your template, or do you populate that as part of the cost? Are you going to put all that information for us?
Frank, you want to
I
answer
got
that?
bits and pieces because of the feedback, but essentially a lot of the information, great question by the way that you see here, a lot of it is going to be pulled from your website. You're only going to have to maintain one of them. So if you want to maintain the My Civic or the website, but no, to answer your question, we will help you populate this. Everything you're seeing here is at a template base. I can change the scroll wheel. We can have it go vertical, horizontal, diagonal. A lot of our customers like this scroll wheel. But yes, you do have several different templates, and if you don't like that, you can actually go ahead and more or less create one on your own based on what we give you. But it's super, super easy to create these. Essentially, if you can use a smartphone, you can use My Civic and create these for your citizens.
Thanks.
Sure, definitely. And you can kind of see, sorry, I got a wicked feedback. As long as you guys are okay, I can work through that. But, in the neighborhood, maybe we need to pay a bill, pay a citation, pay for, I'm a construction worker, or maybe I'm a developer and I need to pay for a business license. I can easily go ahead and do that and pull up. In this case, it would be our payment portal, but we can go ahead, log on to that, and make a payment. So again, a one-stop shop as far as My Civic is concerned. You're able to go ahead and give your citizens another outlet. From here, I just want to go back to my webpage. I mentioned as far as paying bills, maybe you don't necessarily want to go on an app to pay a bill. You can log on to our bill payment. So from here, if I needed to go and pay maybe a business license, or I need to pay my utility bill, I'm just going to log on as utility. This is me logging on as a resident of Holly Hill. So from here, maybe I just want to make a quick payment, and I'm done. Or I can log in and manage my accounts. So maybe I have a tenant. I'm a landlord, and from here I want to keep track of my landlord. He's past due again. Why is he past due? We can click into this information, and I can actually view this particular account. Or maybe I'm just viewing my own account. But again, another outlet to reduce some of those calls, to reduce some of the emails, or just the line that you have in the front of the city as far as just small miscellaneous. Why do I have this extra transaction? Your citizen can log on to this portal and see, I paid my bill a little bit late. That's why I have a late fee. Or, I've never used that much water, that much electric, that much gas before. Whatever utility that an individual may be concerned about, they can actually log on. I'm going to switch this to water here and see my current water consumption as opposed to what I had last year at this time. And notice that, hey, in fact, yes, I did use that same amount of water last year. In fact, I used a little bit less last year as opposed to this year. So you're able, again, to give your citizens a way of viewing that information, whether it was monthly or daily. And then from here, just some of the other dashboards I had mentioned earlier. Maybe I'm a city engineer, and it's my responsibility. I have to log on and do business permits or business licensing. From here, I'm logged in here as a user already, but this is our Tyler. This is our InterGov. This is our planning, our zoning. So from here, I have a dashboard, maybe as an engineer. What plans do I have? What permits do I have? Or I want to go ahead, I'm in construction, I need to go ahead out and take a new residential single family dwelling out. I can actually, once I'm logged in here, I can go ahead and just apply online. Super easy, super simple, and more importantly, what your citizen will see is a very, very similar approach to what you will see in the back office using the software. This is all GIS based, so we can pull from GIS. If I need to add the location, I can. Notice it says create a template down here. If I'm coming in here and doing this multiple times a week, or maybe just a couple times a year, I can go ahead and create a template for what permits or what business licensing I need to take out. So I just create my template, I save it, and I enter it, and that takes care of a lot of time on my side, maybe as an engineer, entering this all in. But very quickly, I can go ahead and, it's a new house. We'll just put a new home. The square footage, the valuation. Notice some of these are required. We'll work with you if something is required or something is not required. But we'll keep this super simple, 2,000 square feet, 375. And then we can enter that information in, and then it's going to just walk us through the process. Now, because I'm logged in here, it's entered my name, my information where I am, and then I have to add a contractor. and then from here I can enter my contractor. So that's required in my process. So if you have something that's required in your process for getting a new permit, zoning, anything for that matter, you can go ahead and do that right here. So what I wanted to show you is just the first few steps here, and then we've got some more information, attachments for plans and all that. But did anyone have any questions, anything you would like to see that I can show you?
Yeah. Hey there, it's Mayor Villa. I know it's going to be hard to hear, but so I'll try to go slowly. Yeah, maybe we can move a mic. Is it that one? There we go. All right. Can you still hear me?
That's the problem.
Oh, you can't hear me? Okay.
Oh, I lost everything now.
Okay.
You're back now.
Okay.
If I can mute those, we'd probably be all right. Is there a way to mute?
You can turn this one on. That's the
Yeah, we
speaker.
can turn that
That's
one
the speaker.
They'll hear it from here. Can you still hear me, Frank?
Yes, sir.
Okay,
All
there
right.
you go.
All right. Hey there, Frank. His name's Frank, right? I'm sorry about that. Frank. Didn't want to call you something.
Whatever you want.
Yeah. Frank, I wanted to know when you make the payment, when a citizen makes a payment, say pays for their water bill, will that automatically work with our system to populate the amount that is due on their account, or do they have to know what their amount due is to put that in?
No, as soon as they make the payment on our web portal, that payment is sent in real time to the cashiering. If you have payment priority, if there's more utilities, or if they overpay, underpay, we'll set that up as far as however you want that to hit those certain buckets.
Okay, so, yeah.
I'm sorry, this is Stella. I don't think you quite understood what the mayor was asking. When a customer goes on to make a payment, does he have to know how much he's paying, or will it display for him that $250 is due?
I'm sorry. That is correct. Yes, it will display. And I just pulled up that screen. So your customer does not need to know their balance. It will automatically populate on the portal.
Perfect, thank you.
It will become an option. If you want to accept, maybe they don't want to pay the full amount and you might accept partial payments, that's up to you. If you want to set it up to accept a partial, there may be a way to do that, or it's only full payment only. There's a lot of setup that takes
Right.
place, and we'll ask you more questions than you're going to ask us, actually.
And they can get to their bill by their address, not their account number.
Excuse me?
They can get to their bill by their address, not just an account number?
Okay, good.
Yep.
And I don't know who this is a question for, but how long would the transition time be from our systems now, and what would be the downtime that all of our systems would see?
I'll answer that, Frank. There's really no downtime. I mean, we're going to be doing most of the implementation for you. We're going to be doing the conversion of your existing data, bringing it over into the system. The transition time from when the contract signed to probably going live for something this size with all the modules you have is going to probably be at least 12 to 14 months.
Okay.
Uh,
Yeah. And then basically what you do is you're using your other system. We're doing a lot of testing, mock payrolls, mock utility billings, things like that. And then when we're ready and you're signed off and everybody's in agreement, we shut off one and go to the next one.
Okay, good. Any other, yeah, we have a question from Vice Mayor Penny.
Yeah, the question I had was the one chart you showed was the history or the billing data. So when we switch this, will the data start the day we begin the new system, or does it go back in history?
It will go back in history. We're going to bring in several years, at least a couple, 2 or 3 years, but it's really going to be up to you.
Okay.
So basically, you're not starting fresh.
Right.
We'll get that data, bring it onto the new system, so that data's there and they can look it up.
Okay. Thank you.
Commissioner Curry?
Yes, under the permitting module, when a customer, clicks on that to be able to obtain a permit of some kind, is there a way to put a list of requirements for said permit, like a checklist, if you will?
There is.
Okay,
There. That's part of
thank
the
you.
process. And again, that's really dependent on what your requirements are as a city, as to how you want that to start and initiate the process. It's optional, but yes, there's a possibility that it won't be accepted unless you've got these 4 documents, or you've attached your insurance, all that stuff.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
So how do they get the information that she's talking about?
We-
Does anybody ever like see eye to eye? Is there like any human contact anymore? Is it all?
Yeah, with COVID, we've gone remote on a lot of this, but basically we get access to your database and we start drawing that information out of your old database, your old systems, and bringing it over. We've done thousands of these.
Well, no, I'm talking about what Commissioner Curry just asked us. Let's say a contractor's trying to pull a permit and there's a set of checks and balances that he needs to come with. Now he has them. How does he get that to the city? Is that something he physically brings, or is it something that's gonna
It
be?
can be automatically filled out, so there'll be certain areas that'll be automatically filled out, and there'll either be attaching documents. Attach a copy of your insurance, attach a copy of your license, or here's my license number that can be looked up. I mean, there's
So
multiple.
he never has to leave his desk?
No,
Right.
absolutely. He doesn't even need to leave his truck. if
Right.
He didn't want to.
Okay,
But of course, if they're old school, they can. They can still come in.
like me.
And write a check.
Yeah, and write a check.
Check, what happened to cash?
Frank said up front, the technology's out there. The technology's been out there for a while.
Yeah.
It has. Everybody knows it.
Yeah.
It's a matter of bringing it together and integrating it so it's seamless in real time.
Right. All right. Are there any further questions? All right. Thank you, Frank.
Thanks, Frank.
Thank you, Frank.
You're very welcome. Have a great day. I'll sign off now, Mike. Or do you want me to stay? Okay.
No, you're good.
Yep. Bye
All
now.
right. And one other question I had, which is for you, Stella. You mentioned that the department heads got to go through and look at this. And from what I've seen, this was a pie in the sky wish list for me coming on when I was a commissioner 4 years ago to take us into this new age, and was hopeful that our new system would kind of get us a little bit of the way there. But one thing that I've noticed working, with the county and any other city is the online able to process these things. I would imagine that that's going to make it easier on our departments to be able to have all of that information that could be right there, ready to be processed, instead of taking 2 different phone calls and having an hour conversation about something they could have. So I see, and I know this is a long-winded question, but
That's
my
okay.
question is seems it's going to serve the citizens very well, but will it serve the department heads very well? Meaning, was there anybody that was negative about this and said, hey, this is going to make my job harder, or any of that?
None of the department heads were negative. The city manager was there. I think they were all positive. And what's even more important to me as a department head is how is it going to impact my staff? And I can tell you the finance and cashiering staff, it is going to so positively impact and gain productivity and efficiency for them that, like I said, I've been encouraging the city manager almost the whole time. I might have waited a month or 2 before I said anything, but I've been encouraging him the whole time that there really is something better than what we're doing today.
Great. Are there any other questions for Stella?
I just think we had hopes that our current system would do some of these. I think we were maybe promised that it would.
Yeah.
If you go back in time, Kurt was trying to get us to a forklift change of our ERP. That was going to cost a lot of money, $1 million or something was the estimate at the time. And then Kurt left and John came in, and John was very familiar with HTE and Central Square. It was something he was used to. So we followed John's direction and his recommendations, and we upgraded the existing system to Central Square. And then John left. He left right in the middle, right in the beginning of a transition period, which was critical to us. We had people that didn't complete their training, didn't know what the system was, and Stella is being quite kind in how bad she complained to me. And I'll say on a daily basis, because if she missed complaining one day, she complained twice the next. So it has been a problem in finance. It teaches me for eating candy again. But one of the things I want to point out that's very important, I stayed for the entire day with Mike and Frank through the entire session. The department heads stayed only for their portions that they had to deal with. But the critical path for me here is the 12 to 16 month transition period. And the reason that's important is because in 16 months I'm going to lose I'm expecting to lose 3 department heads. I need a system in place before they go. Because if I have to change department heads and the system's not in place, it's not going to be fair. It's going to be just as detrimental to someone coming in the future as it was to Stella when she came on board. So that's why we're trying to get this going very quickly so that I can catch up on that 12 to 16 month time frame to get it in place. A little bit of the delay was my guilt of going down the road of Central Square and spending money on that, only to find out it's not the right system. The comfort in that is the savings that we will see over that 5-year period. So, if it had not been for that savings, I'd probably turn around and go, we're going to have to rough it out.
Suck it up.
You got to deal with it. But there will be savings, there'll be efficiencies, there'll be a better product, it'll be more user-friendly for the departments, their employees, and especially for the citizens. So at this point, my belief is that it's the right direction to go in, and I hope that you see that. And if you need to speak with any of the department heads, not just, unfortunately, there's only 2 or 3 here, but if you see them and you want to ask them what their thoughts are about it when they got their training, feel free to do it. You don't need me to influence them. I always tell my department heads to speak their mind when they talk to the commissioners. So I think it's the right direction to go in.
Perfect. Yeah, talk about streamline too. Streamlining a lot of the processes, and and going down that other path, it wasn't a mistake, Joe. I want to point that out. It did improve certain areas, but this, when you look at this, of what it can contribute. And by the way, technology is constantly changing. I know you can attest to that. And every day there's a new technology. And it seems like this company has done a good job staying on the front line of that. And it's pretty apparent. So when you talk about the making it more efficient for our own employees, we're going to gain money that may not be hard money on the books there, but also for the citizens, it's a great service. So I appreciate you bringing that up. Mr. Penny, did you have
Just
another
one more
question?
thing. Mike, I'm assuming this is all cloud-based. We're eliminating the AS400 and triple redundancy in the cloud somewhere.
Upgrades done automatically, all that stuff. Not saying you need to eliminate your IT department, but
Right. But is everything mirror image? Like if it's all cloud, we don't have a server here anymore. Is that correct?
correct. And one more thing I will add, I'm not going to get into dates, but
Can you come to the microphone?
yeah,
Thank you.
I was informed that we're a public company, and this, how much I'm going to say, I'm not going to say dates, but we are not only taking it to the cloud, but within a couple of years, it'll be all web-based. That's the direction that
Yeah.
the technology's going.
That's where most is, yeah.
I mean, we invest close to $80 million a year just in the product itself, as Tyler and the companies. That's just in technology advancements. So, but that's where we're going, completely web-based.
Great. All right. Anything further before we move on?
Should probably just mention one more thing. There is, just so you know, $323,000 left in the budget for ERP upgrade that's been, carrying over back from, I guess, Kurt started that
Right.
budget originally. So there is that
Money in
money
there for it.
there.
Right.
So we only need 170 grand
Correct.
Perfect.
for 5 years.
Yep. Thank you very much, Stella, and thank you so much, Mike. We appreciate it. Joe, is there any further that we need to talk with? I think we could bring this back.
No, what we'll end up doing is we'll schedule an agenda item to bring forward a contract and an agreement with Tyler Encode and then start the process.
All right. Perfect. Thank you very much. So at this time, we are 7 minutes to the city commission meeting. How long is the CRA property improvement program roughly? Is it? Wow. Okay. I don't want to rush you, and if we have to start the commission meeting a little bit late, we can do that as well. So just do your presentation the way that you have, and just wanted to make sure it wasn't like a 20-minute thing. So thank you. Take it away, Kevin.
Kevin Fall, I'm the Economic Development CRA Administrator. It's my pleasure to be in front of you for this work session. Joe got me right away, and when I first started, just saying we need to modernize the grant program and bring it up a little bit. So we looked at what was successful and what was not successful. And so I guess my agenda cover sheet really summarizes it up. We go ahead and go to the next slide. These are just criteria. Our current property improvement grant categories are up top: signage, building facade improvements, paving, and demolition. What we've noticed is that we have done some paving grants, and we have done, and they have been successful, but paving is a maintenance item more so than anything else. And so when we look around at the other cities and their programs, and even around the state, paving is something that they would lump into a larger product if it was going to do something. So you have to improve your building and the site, not just go ahead and put another level of asphalt on top of it. So our suggestion is we take that out as a standalone category. And then there was 2 categories that we wanted to bring in. Quite simply, rezoning to planned unit development is not an exhaustive type of a category. Where this helps us at is when, and we have a propensity of these lots out there along the corridor, an old historic corridor that grew up through history. There's a lot of lots that wouldn't meet today's contemporary land development regulations. Just the size of them themselves doesn't allow it to do it. So rezoning to planned unit development allows staff and the property owner to kind of customize their site plans and such to provide the buffers, the access, and those things that make them a little bit more compatible with their neighbor. And basically, this is a $2,000 fee that a property owner would have to pay. What we're saying is we'll pay half of it for you if you come in and do that. As a previous planner, if we got the whole bunch of lots out there to come in and do this, it might be worth our time so that we could have a little bit of more say in exactly what goes and enable property owners to develop what they would want to do.
And this would include those small properties along US 1 that have no parking and can't have parking?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that would be a good tool for you to go to them and say, hey, let's do this?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And this was spawned on by a couple of investors that were interested in properties, looked at the zoning, said we can't do it, and just turned away from it without us having this option available.
Okay.
The signage and building facade improvement grants are fine. The demolition is fine. We're not asking for any changes. On the building and facade improvements, what we looked at earlier is strictly awnings and some site improvement or in some building facade improvements. Now we're adding a little bit more of categories to that with windows, porches, those type of things that give a better aesthetic to the drive-by customer and to the corridor itself. And so we wanted to go ahead and throw those in there and make it legitimate that those were eligible costs. Actually, we have had some grants, if you'll notice the lamps, Albertsons Lamps and Shades. They did some doors that they replaced their doors, and it looks a lot better, and it really does. Again, those are all, and the program all is a 50-50 up to a 10,000 max per property per year. The landscaping, hardscaping is a hard one. Landscaping can be good, and it can be your worst evil, because it all depends on water and irrigation and maintaining it. And so what we thought there was, we're not going to use landscaping and hardscaping as a standalone category, but if you come in and do a signage grant or a building and facade grant, we will allow you to throw landscaping in there, and we will be able to customize that type of landscape site plan and give you a little bit more eligibility for getting reimbursed for that. And kind of the last thing that's really important is we're going to reinstate the CRA painting program for a year. Basically, it's before my time, but apparently we had some great success with it. And as Brian always says, I mean, that's a very easy thing to do to make a difference. But when somebody comes in, they have to meet, we have some architectural standards, we have some color standards that are in the code right now, and they would have to meet those in order to get this grant. So we're looking at opening that up immediately once you guys give us the go-ahead and once the commission gives us the go-ahead, and then cutting it off by the end of the year. So we have a short, or the end of the summer, so we have a short time frame to get actual impact out there on the corridor. With that, I'll take any questions you might have about this. Just as FYI, in fiscal year 20, the CRA leveraged with $35,000 a private sector investment of $103,000. And already this year, we've had $30,000 and a $75,000 private investment for the grants that we have. So
Wow.
it's not just people coming in and us giving it half of the project. We're only giving half of the maximum amount, and they're doing more work, just to make sure that they make the impact that they wanted to before they even came.
Right. Yes.
Thought I'd help you out with a little coin phrase that you could use to get them motivated. A little caulk and a little paint makes a carpenter what he ain't.
Oh, okay.
And the other thing I want to ask you, though, really on landscaping, is there going to be a requirement for maintenance because I went through that years ago, like time, so that
Yes,
stuff goes in and they maintain it?
absolutely. And right now, with all the improvements, you are required to maintain the improvement for 5 years.
Okay.
But we're going to get very strict about the landscaping and the hardscaping stuff.
Good. Mr. Clerk?
Mr. Clerk.
Vice Mayor?
What recourse do we have 3 years down the road and all the palm trees die? I mean, are we putting a silent second mortgage on this property to recoup our losses? Or my experience has been, give it to them, it looks great for 6 months, and then it dies.
It's code enforcement, it's a lien ultimately.
Code enforcement violation that could be subject to penalties and liens.
Okay.
That's a good question. I mean, that's something that most cities struggle with.
Amortizes it.
Typically don't bring this in. So again, that's why we're making it as a part of something else. So somebody just can't come in and we'll pay for half of your plants and stuff. And we are going to require irrigation. And so that can be negotiated whether it's an automatic irrigation system, but it has to be professionally designed and it has to meet standards that we accept.
And then one thing you mentioned was in the painting grant that it has to meet certain palettes and design standards and so forth. I think it might be worth a look at some time. I know we have the design standards, but Florida cracker may mean one thing to one person and one thing to, I don't believe those descriptions are actually defined
Yes.
accurately in our codes.
You're right. Let me jump in for a second. In our current CRA plan, there is a architectural design standard, and there's a color palette that's in there, and it's not very specific. And this commission was never really a big fan, or I should say the previous commissions were never really a big fan of establishing color palettes. Brian will probably bop me on the head when I say this, but most planners want to see consistency in their color palettes. You go to Port Orange, you go to Ormond Beach, you drive down State Road 40, you drive down Dunlawton Boulevard. They have all the monument signs, and they're all very cookie cutter, and they look the same, and they're painted the same, and it's very cookie cutter. Well, I can tell you, if you come to Holly Hill and they want to know where Discount Carpet is, it's that purple building at the north end of the city. Heavenly Cheesecake is that pink building at the north end of the city. People define their businesses by their color palette, and it may not look great to some people, but it is defining. So we might want to go back and revisit the color palette. Not that we go crazy.
I wasn't so concerned with the color palette, but the descriptions, the architectural descriptions, they're very loose, Mediterranean.
I'm less concerned about that because we don't have a lot of new construction coming down the road.
No, but I mean, if you were going to rehabilitate a property and reskin it with stucco and styrofoam.
Model.
Yeah, we don't see a lot of that happening either. You might have some people that want to do a minor facade improvement. Aqua Pools is one that did an improvement, but for the most part, you're not going to see some of these businesses doing tear down and rebuilds. They're going to be minimal.
And I agree. I think when the Dollar General craze was coming to town, if you looked at a Dollar General designed in Holly Hill and one designed in Daytona Beach Shores, they were drastically different.
Right.
Because we didn't have those standards and we couldn't hold them accountable to it.
Right.
So it might not be that big of a deal, but just something.
That's a good point. Are there any other questions or comments to Kevin? Do you have anything to add, Kevin?
No.
All right.
I'll work with you, if you have any questions or any opportunities for me to look into something further, I'll bring it back and we'll talk about it again.
Perfect. Mr. Forte, do we need to, in our next meeting, vote on this plan? Is that the plan?
I'd like to bring it forward as an official agenda item.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much for putting this together. Appreciate it. All right, and at this time, we just ended, for everyone who got here, just ended a workshop, and we're going to take a 5-minute recess, and then we will reconvene at 6:10 for the normally scheduled commission meeting. So this workshop is adjourned.
Anybody know how to stop this thing?
I don't.
have no idea.
Scott walked in and then he walked out. He's the only other one.
Stop, I'm
I
assuming?
touch it all.
Just don't delete it. Delete it. Delete it. Delete it. Delete it. Delete it. Delete it.